So a person who goes by Fractal Tetris Huracan has announced that she is wanting to marry the video game Tetris. I'm a firm believer that if someone has emotions or feelings, that those emotions or feelings are valid. And if I do not understand those emotions or feelings, it's my responsibility to go out of my way and try and understand those emotions or feelings. She considers herself an objectum sexual, which is someone who is physically in love with physical objects. Marriage itself occupies this weird nebulous world where legal, emotion, and ethical all kind of come together, and there's people who fight for each of those various aspects with different levels of vitriol. From an emotional standpoint, I'm just going to accept it. Even though I don't understand it, I'm going to accept it. From a legal standpoint, however, I have to question how this would work, right? Because legally, you get certain benefits, certain financial benefits for getting married, and these financial benefits are in some ways a reflection of just a different living condition or different living situation. So not necessarily the fact that you're married, but just the fact that you're two people living together, and therefore you can file joint taxes and all this kind of stuff and get these various different kind of benefits. I would imagine that some of those benefits also were enacted because studies that would suggest perhaps married couples would produce children. Children would then grow up and become contributing members of the economy, and therefore it would make sense to incentivize people to have kids and to get married. So possibly that's in there as well. If that is one of the legal impetuses to marriage laws and tax laws, then obviously this doesn't factor in because there is no potential for children with a relationship with Tetris. I'm also wondering, why Tetris? There's sexier games out there, right? There's more visually appealing, more emotionally engaging games out there. In an effort of truly trying to understand the other side, I'm going to swing by a video game store and check out the goods. I'll feel like I'm visiting a brothel, I guess. So by visiting this video game brothel, should I have the same emotional hangups that I would if I were to visit a human brothel? Should I walk in there very reserved and not really sure what I'm supposed to do? If you bring in extra attachments in your gameplay scenario, do you have to pay more? Hey, if you want to use a game genie in this situation, it's going to be an extra $3. God, here it comes. I'm so nervous. It's my first time.
I have it. Actually, I sold
it. No copies of Tetris. Guess it's true. All the good ones are taken. Her previous love interest was a calculator named Pierre. And before that, she was in love with an oscilloscope. She was also in love with the companion cube from the game Portal, which that of all these I can understand the most. Portal's a great game, and the companion cube plays a lot into companionship in that game. Is she in love with the game itself, or is she in love with the vehicle by which the game is delivered? Meaning, is she in love with a cartridge, or is she just in love with the mechanics of the game? And it sounds like it's the mechanics of the game. So she can play Tetris on various other formats. I don't know if that's considered cheating. I don't know. But she can play Tetris on different formats, phones, NES, that sort of thing. What's interesting, though, is her previous love interest, Pierre, who was a calculator. That calculator broke. It devastated her, as one would expect. And she tried to replace it with another calculator, and she said that it wasn't the same thing, that she couldn't connect with it. The soul essentially was gone. Which tells me that there is, in these inanimate objects, a sense of a soul, someone that she could connect to emotionally. However, with Tetris, it's different, which is interesting to me. If I were a psychologist, I would want to dig into that a little bit, because that's just something that's it seems atypical, even more atypical than just the atypical scenario itself would imply. Also, beyond the legal implications, there's some emotional implications that I will touch on, specifically the idea of reciprocity. So because the video game itself cannot reciprocate the emotional attachment, is this more of an arranged marriage situation? Or is the mindset of an objectum sexual such that the connection is so strong that this person feels as though they can, in essence, speak for the object? You know, in some ways, it seems like that being an objectum sexual is not a lot different than maybe some misguided human-to-human relationships. When I hear the phrase, you're not in love with this person, you're in love with the idea of that person, meaning that you're more in love with the idea of being in love, or you're in love with the idea of what this person could potentially be and could contribute to your life, all that sort of thing. That, to me, is very much you're objectifying that person. You're thinking of that person as an object, not as a counterbalance to yourself, and therefore you're in it solely for yourself, really, to make yourself better. And a good relationship has to go both ways, is that you want that person to better you, but you also want to make that person better, or help that person become better, would be a less horrible way of saying that. It's difficult for me to understand what this person is giving the object. It's easy to see that the object is giving this person something, happiness, pleasure, all that kind of stuff, the stuff that you would receive from a human. But what is this person giving to the object? And so is objectum sexuality at its heart a selfish thing? It's not that clear cut. I'm obviously not a psychologist, but it feels like there's probably an element of that to it, right? Where this person has a difficulty connecting with people. They don't necessarily understand the reciprocity, or they're not able to be part of reciprocity. So they have to default to what they do know, and that is taking from something, taking happiness from things, rather than feeling like they are able to contribute happiness. I don't know. The link to this article about this, one of the many articles that are floating out there about this, is in the description below. And please let me know in the comments what you think of this whole idea. Please just be nice in the comments. How about that? If there are comments that are just straight up hateful, I will probably remove them. So just be as constructive as you possibly can. And with all that being said, now's the best time to ask for you to subscribe to my channel and share this video, because I just told you not to do certain things. People love being told not to do things.